The cadet nobody noticed. No one paid attention when Myra joined the Intergalactic Combat Academy. She was quiet, short, and walked like she didn't belong. The other cadets were taller, heavier, and covered in sharp armor. Some had claws, others had fangs, and most had already seen war. Myra looked like someone who got lost and walked into the wrong camp. Her file said she was human. From Earth's outer colonies, nothing impressive, no elite training, no warrior bloodline, but Earth's records were always incomplete. The commanders didn't care. They only needed more bodies, so she was added to Unit Threx-9, the group used for stress testing new drills. During the first week, she barely spoke. She listened, watched, and remembered every hallway. She never argued, never showed off to the aliens around her. She was weak and slow, but Mira wasn't trying to prove anything. She was surviving. Then, on the 5th day, something strange happened. Unit Threx-9 was sent on a solo navigation run in the ruined sector, a maze of broken structures, overgrown with alien vines and shadows. It was supposed to be empty, but just after Mira entered, the cameras glitched, and 3 lethal lifeforms were released into the zone. None of the instructors said anything, but the staff shared quiet glances. This wasn't a test anymore, it was a cleanup. They expected her to die. The first assassin was from the Zarnok hive. It moved like smoke, invisible to most sensors. It had hunted war heroes and survived plasma storms. Its mission was simple: terminate and vanish. It spotted Myra near a collapsed tower. It leaped, claws extended, but she didn't run. She stood completely still. Then dropped into the shadows right before the strike. The Zarnok missed by inches. It landed and looked back, but Mira was gone. What followed was silence, not a scream, not a flash, just one sudden static signal. And then nothing. When the response team arrived 3 hours later, they found a strange scene. The Zarnok assassin was pinned to the wall with metal rods through its limbs. Its body was cold, and its toxin sacs had been crushed. A message was burned into the wall. One down. Command didn't believe it at first. How could a cadet without combat history defeat an apex killer? But the evidence was clear. The death was confirmed. And Mira was still inside the zone. Now it wasn't about survival, it was a question of how. Was this luck, a hidden weapon, or something worse, something human? The second killer had already picked up her trail. It was a Grathera bioarmored beast used in planetary assaults. It could crush steel with its jaws and survive orbital fire, but Mira had already left false tracks. She had studied its movement pattern using nothing but her own eyes, and she had led it into a trap. As the Grather roared through a ruined fuel depot, she stood on a ledge above, holding a small charge. She waited until it reached the center, then she dropped the charge and turned her back. The explosion tore through the depot, shaking the forest beyond. A cloud of smoke filled the sky. Command lost signal for a minute, but when the dust cleared, Mira was walking out alone. Her arm was bleeding, her face was burnt, but her eyes were sharp, and her hands steady. She didn't wait for extraction, she simply moved deeper into the ruins. One more killer remained, and she wasn't done yet. The cadet nobody noticed was now the name in every mouth, and the academy was holding its breath. The second fell in silence. The explosion from the fuel depot echoed across the ruined sector. Every sensor in the command post lit up. The Grather's signal vanished, and Mira's signal was still moving. She was alive, and the second killer was gone. The commanders stared at the screens. 2 confirmed kills, one whispered, another added, "She's still just a cadet," but everyone in that room knew this was no normal cadet. While the techs scrambled to catch up, Myra walked slowly through the shadows. Her body ached, burns marked her arms, and her shoulder was bleeding, but she never stopped. Pain was familiar to her. It reminded her she was still here. Still moving, still in control. She wasn't thinking about medals. She wasn't thinking about impressing anyone. She only had one goal: finish what they started. The third and final assassin was the worst of them all. A telepathic creature called a Wraithsinger. It didn't use blades or bombs. It used your own mind to destroy you. It whispered in your thoughts, twisted your memories, made you doubt everything, and then, when your will broke, it ended you. Mira didn't know when it found her, but she felt it, like cold fingers brushing the back of her neck. It didn't speak out loud. It entered her memories. She saw her home, again Earth's outer colonies. She saw the attack, the flames, the screams. She saw her little brother hiding under rubble. She remembered digging him out with her bare hands. And the silence that followed when he didn't breathe again. The Wraith tried to make her relive it. It wrapped the moment around her like chains. It showed her failure, pain, guilt. But Myra didn't break. She looked at the memory, tears on her cheeks, and said, I already survived this. The Wraith hissed inside her skull. It tried again. It brought up the voices of the soldiers who mocked her. The instructors who said she'd die early, the day her family was labeled as acceptable losses. But Myra stood taller. She knew who she was. She had lived through things worse than nightmares, and she had trained in silence, in darkness, when no one watched. Then she moved, fast and sudden. She had traced the source of the psychic wave, using nothing but instinct and timing. Her blade shot forward, an old Terran pulse dagger hidden in her boot. Straight into the heart of the invisible creature, the Wraith flickered into view, a thin, twisted shape made of light and shadow. Its body screamed without sound, and then collapsed into dust. Myra dropped to one knee, breathing hard, but she was alive. More than that, she had won. All 3 killers were gone. The mission was done. At the Academy Command Center, silence filled the room. No one spoke, no one knew what to say. Finally, the head instructor whispered, Send recovery. Another asked, Do we promote her? The reply came cold and clear, No, watch her. Myra walked toward the extraction point alone. She didn't smile, she didn't celebrate. She was thinking about the next challenge, because she knew this wasn't over. They tried to erase her with silence, but she answered with survival. And the galaxy had just met someone it could no longer ignore, the storm inside her. The sky above the ruined sector began to clear. Thick smoke faded, and the fires had burned out. Myra stood still at the edge of the broken zone. Her armor was cracked, her skin bruised, but her eyes never wavered. The evac drone landed a few meters away. No medical team, no applause, no words, just a door opening. That was the Academy's way of saying, You survived. Inside the command center, the staff reviewed the data. 3 Apex killers deployed. 3 bodies recovered. 1 cadet alive. Without support or backup, it should have been impossible. But she didn't just survive, she ended it. Each kill was clean, deliberate, and executed with intent. And yet, Myra never once acted with pride. She simply moved forward. Like it was something she had done before. The Academy didn't train her. Earth did. And Earth, as the aliens were learning, trained differently. Myra didn't speak to anyone when she returned. She sat quietly in the infirmary, letting the machines repair her wounds. Others watched from a distance. The same cadets who had laughed at her silence now avoided her gaze. They didn't know what to say, because now they feared her. Not because she was loud or brutal, but because she was calm. A few whispered her name with caution. A few gave her new ones. Ghost Cadet, the Quiet Knife, or simply Storm. But Myra ignored them all. Names didn't matter. Only results did. Behind closed doors, the Academy leaders debated. She's dangerous. One said, she's effective. Another replied, what if she turns? What if we lose her? But none of them dared say the truth aloud. They had tried to eliminate her. And failed. Now, they were afraid of their own creation. One of the senior instructors watched the footage again. Myra standing still as the Zarnok lunged. Myra walking out of the flames. Myra stabbing the invisible Wraith in complete silence. He turned to the others and said, She's not just a cadet, she's a weapon built by grief. Myra was called back for debrief. The commander expected her to salute, to show fear or pride, but she just sat down and waited. The room was quiet. He asked, Do you understand what you've done? She replied, I finished the assignment. He leaned forward. You killed 3 assassins trained to break armies. She nodded. They underestimated a girl from Earth. The commander frowned. We didn't authorize that test. Myra looked at him and said, Then someone wanted me dead. He didn't answer. She didn't wait for permission to leave. She stood, turned, and walked out of the room. From that day on, no one gave her orders without thinking twice. No one raised their voice when she was near, because Myra had become more than a cadet. She was a reminder that humans might come from a small blue planet, but they carried storms inside them. Storms that didn't roar, didn't scream, didn't boast. They just destroyed what needed to be destroyed, and moved on, as the Academy prepared its next class. Myra's name was quietly moved from the cadet list, and added to a new file. A file marked Special Operations Classified, because when the galaxy truly needed help, when even the monsters began to shake, they would send someone who didn't flinch. They would send the storm. They would send Myra.